Hello, my name's Abbe. I'm a physiotherapist and Pilates instructor, and today I'm doing a session of matwork Pilates, which is suitable for beginners. It's suitable for complete beginners who've never done this before. It's also completely safe to try if you have some non-specific low back pain that you're trying to manage as well. If you have any more serious pathologies with your back, I would suggest being assessed by a physiotherapist before going ahead with this session. Okay, so we're going to start on our side, in side lying, for an exercise called Clams. So you might want a little headrest to make things more comfortable. We're going to get into what we call crook lying. So we're on our side with about 90 degrees behind our knees. If you were to lift your feet up in the air, you'd see that they're roughly level with your bottom and your shoulder if you're in the right position here. We want to make sure that our hips are stacked on top of each other and that you're pushing away that top line. So you're trying to open up a little bit of space here so that we're not collapsing into the waist. We just push it away very slightly to bring your pelvis into what we call neutral. Now we're going to engage those core muscles in this position. Now the muscles that we have control over in our core are our pelvic floor and our deepest level of tummy muscles. So our pelvic floor is that sling of muscle underneath, and we're just going to try and lift that very gently, about 30%, not a big contraction. And then we're going to gently pull in our lower abdominals. So I want you to imagine you're putting on a tight pair of trousers and you're pulling up the zip and you don't want to pinch your skin in the zip. So you just hollow very lightly through your lower tummy button, through your lower tummy, below your belly button. And we're going to keep that going while we do some movements now. So the movement we're going to do is just lifting your top knee and then controlling it back down again. So we're keeping the tummy in, we're keeping the pelvic floor lifted, and we're just gently lifting and lowering. So it's a really smooth, simple movement, but we're trying to keep the rest of the body completely still. So we're keeping the shoulders nice and relaxed. We're keeping the hips stacked, so we're not rolling our bottom backwards as we lift. Just a gentle lift and lower, trying to keep hold of those muscles we talked about all the way through. Okay, now that's a fairly simple one. We can make it a little bit more challenging by lifting both feet in the air and keeping them there. So now we keep the feet completely still and hovering, and we lift the leg and lower it back down. So it's the same action as before, gently lifting and lowering, keeping hold of those core muscles, keeping the upper half nice and relaxed. And this is Clams level 2. So opening as widely as you feel you can without rocking your bottom backwards is what we're aiming for. We're just going to do one more. And then we're going to lower that leg back down and foot to the floor. Now we're going to keep the lower leg nice and bent like this, but we're going to stretch out the top line. And again, we're really reaching away with that top line to try and open up that space at the waist like we did before. Pop your hand on your hip. Engage your core muscles like we did before, and we're going to lift that leg to hip height, and we're going to gently bring it forward with a pointed toe, flex the ankle, and then pull it back. So we point and forwards, flex and back. Now you're aiming to keep completely still through the rest of the body, so the leg is the only thing that's moving. We're using those tummy muscles pulled in to keep everything else nice and still while we do this movement backwards and forwards. Keep the shoulder nice and relaxed. Imagine you're drawing a line with your toe as we come forward, and then you're pushing out through your heel and rubbing it out on the way back. We're going to do 2 more. On the last one though, we're going to leave it forward. We're going to flex the ankle like we did, and we're going to do 10 quick little pulses. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then we're going to glide that leg back again and then relax it back down on top of the other one. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to bolster up that headrest a bit more and bring your palms out in front of you. So I'm just going to shuffle back again so you're in shot. So palms in front, engage those core muscles again, take a breath in and exhale to bring the top arm up and over, eyes follow that leading hand, and then inhale back. Now you're going as far as you can comfortably, don't push into any pain. We're opening the chest to the sky as we come back, and then inhaling to the beginning. Now your knees are your anchor point to the floor, so don't let them lift. Exhaling to open and inhaling to close. And then we're going to turn it into a circle for arm openings too. So we lift that arm up and over this time, then drop back, and then sweep down past the knees. So we exhale up and over, open the chest to the sky, inhale, back down. We'll do one more that way. And then we're going to go the other way. So now we exhale down past the knees, drop back, and inhale up and over. Eyes follow the hand as far as it can go so that you get the movement all the way through the back and through the neck. Last one. Lovely. Okay, and then we're going to roll on to our backs. So we'll find now what we call the rest position, which is where we have our feet and our knees about hip width distance apart. We have our pelvis in what we call neutral. So we're going to roll backwards and forwards with the pelvis, do that pelvic tilt backwards and forwards. And you're going to see how big your range is of pelvic tilt. And I want you to settle in the centre of that range. Now that should bring you where you have a nice level triangle formed against the bony points of your pelvis, and where you have a small gap behind your back, nothing dramatic, just enough room for a couple of fingers. And we're going to hold that position, pop our hands down by our sides. You're going to relax your shoulders so that they are nice and heavy on the floor. Your shoulder blades are in contact with the floor. I want you to think about someone lightly tugging your head away from your body so that you're stretching your neck that way just ever so slightly. Keep your chin tucked in just a fraction so that it's not jutting forward. And then in that position, we're going to get those core muscles working again. So like we said before, the pelvic floor needs to be slightly lifted, and you want to pull down very lightly on those lower abdominals. And then we're going to hold that position with that contraction while we take some nice deep breaths. So I want you to take a breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. And keep going in your own time, keeping hold of that core contraction all the way through the in and the out breath. I want you to try and relax your upper chest as well. You're taking those breaths into the base of your lungs, deep breaths into the base of your lungs to expand your lower rib cage, but up here can stay nice and relaxed. Okay, so we're going to start with what we call a shoulder bridge. So I will demonstrate. We're going to be doing a tuck underneath of the tailbone and lifting away, and then peeling back down again. So we want to make sure we've got those core muscles working. So with that in mind, we take a breath in and exhale, tuck underneath of the tailbone, flatten your back onto the floor, and then peel away as you squeeze your bottom cheeks to come up nice and high. Take a breath in at the top, and then exhale to peel back down from top to bottom. So we're really rolling through the spine. And again, breath in and exhale. Tuck underneath, peel away, thrust the pelvis forward, push away with the knees, take a breath in at the top, and then exhale to peel back down. So we're trying to get segmental movement through the back. We're getting every segment of the spine to get contact with the floor on the way up and down. We're going to do one more. Breath in, exhale to squeeze the bottom cheeks, peeling away, thrusting forward, push down through your heels, take a breath in at the top, and then exhale to peel back down from top to bottom and roll back into neutral. Good. Okay. So the next exercise we're going to practice is called hip twist, level 1. We're going to be moving one leg and keeping everything else nice and still. So when you're ready, find your rest position again. We re-engage those core muscles as we did before, and then we take a breath in and exhale to take your right leg out to the side a few inches and inhale to bring it back in again. And we'll do that again. We exhale to take the right leg out while the left leg stays perfectly still, and then we inhale back in again. So we're going to do that a few times, making sure that only tension is through that leg and through those core muscles. You relax through the upper chest. Imagine you've got a spirit level across the front of your hips and it's staying completely flush, so the bubble's in the centre. Imagine you've got a glass of champagne balanced on this still knee. We're going to do one more. Now you can have your hands on the front of your hips if you want to, because it gives you a bit of sensory feedback. because you're only taking that leg as far as you can without tipping the pelvis, and you might be able to feel a bit better if your hands are there. So we're going to do the other side. So relax for a second, re-engage those core muscles, and then we take the left leg out to the side, leaving the right leg where it is, and inhale back in again. So exhaling out, and inhaling back in. So relax the shoulders, keep all the tension in the center. Remember that balancing the glass of champagne on your right knee now. We've got 2 more on this side. Okay. All right, so once you're back to the center, we're going to bring both feet and knees together now. So they're pressing together, and you're going to bring your arms out to the side a little wider so they're a bit more stable. Still keeping your shoulders on the floor and still have that neutral position for your spine. So that halfway between the pelvic tilt, and we engage those core muscles there. So we're going to take a breath in, and we're going to exhale to take both knees one way as your head goes the opposite way. You're going to push into that stretch, and then you're going to bring yourself back to the center. And then we go the other way. So we take the knees one way as your head goes the opposite way, keeping your knees together, and then we come back to the center. So let's do the breathing as well if you want to. So we take a breath in, and we exhale to take both knees one way as the head goes the opposite way. We take a breath in to hold that position, and then we exhale to come back. Breath in at the center, and exhale to go over. Breath in to hold, and exhale to come back. So I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to just talk you through a few watch points. You want to make sure that your ankles stay locked together, so one foot is riding up over the top of the other one as you go over. So one comes away from the floor. You're making sure that your shoulder blades stay in contact with the floor all the way through, so you're not allowing the shoulder to lift as the knees go over. So they'll tell you how far you can go. You're making sure that your core muscles are working all the way through this movement, so we never let go of those. But on the way back, you can add in upper abdominal muscles to help you get back. So you take the knees out and then you pull in from the center. Let's pull in all of those tummy muscles to help you back up. So you're leading with the knees on the way back out, on the way out, and on the way back, you're anchoring back from the rib cage and pulling everything in at the same time. Let's just do one more. Okay, lovely. All right, so we're going to bring the arms back in. We're going to separate the feet back to hip width, knees at hip width, and we're going to find that neutral position again. So halfway between pelvic tilt, and we're going to get those core muscles working there again. Okay, now we're going to do an exercise called hundreds. What we're going to do is we're going to take the arms away from the floor. We're going to add a little bit of extra complication by bringing the shoulders away as well and looking between your knees. And then we're going to hold that position while we pulse up and down with the hands. Now, if this is too much effort on the neck, you can put your head back to the floor. That's okay, just as a bit of an extra challenge. Now, you're trying to keep the body completely still while the arms do these pulses, and it's called hundreds because ideally you're supposed to aim to do 100, but you don't have to do that many. So we're keeping everything still, and it's those core muscles that help us keep everything still. Okay, another 10. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We'll bring the arms and the shoulders back down, and you can relax. Okay, now we're going to do a little bit of movement with the shoulder blades now. So we'll leave the lower half completely relaxed. We're going to bring the arms up to 90 degrees to the body, and we're going to anchor those shoulder blades back so they're fully in contact. You can feel your shoulder blades against the floor or the mat. Now we're going to do what we call protraction, retraction. So we're going to engage those core muscles as we did before, and keeping the lower half still, we're going to reach the arms up towards the sky, and then we're going to control them back down again. Now the movement is coming from your shoulder blade. So you're protracting the shoulder blades around your rib cage, and then you're retracting back in contact with the floor. So your elbows are not bending and straightening. That's not where the movement's coming from. Your elbows are a little bit flexed, but they stay the same amount flexed all the way through. Now I want you to make sure you're relaxing your rib cage, you're relaxing your chin and your chest, and all the movement is coming from the shoulder blade. We're just going to do 2 more. those core muscles working. Last one. Okay, and then we're going to anchor those shoulder blades back, but we're going to keep the arms up like this. And we're going to do some arm circles now. So keeping the core muscles working and the lower half nice and still, we're going to exhale to bring the arms back, and we're going to circle out to the side, and then we're going to bring the arms back up to the center. So you're actually doing a D shape with each arm. So you drop straight back, you circle out, and they nearly meet and they come straight back up the center again. Now I want you to make sure that while you're doing this, you're keeping your rib cage nice and relaxed and anchored down towards your hips. So you're not allowing it to flare forward and flare upwards. Now if you find that as you're dropping the arms back, your rib cage starts to flare and you arch your lower back, I want you to make it much smaller. It doesn't have to be a huge circle. You're doing whatever you can keep under control. And once you've found the size of circle that you can control, we can add in the legs as well. So keeping everything still through the center, as you drop back now, you're also going to slide away one heel. And then as you circle back in, you're going to bring that heel back in. And then we'll change sides. So we stretch away, and we inhale back in again. So exhale away, and inhale back in. Now we're moving arms and legs. It's very tempting to start arching the back away and to let go of those tummy muscles. So I want you to really concentrate on keeping your rib cage pulled down towards your hips, which will keep that archway under your back exactly the same size all the way through. And we're just going to do one more each side. Last one. Lovely. Okay. So we're going to turn over now and we're going to do an exercise called swimming. Swimming level 1. It's quite a small movement with the legs, but it's making sure that we kick back using just the hip and not by adjusting the back of the pelvis. So we start with our head face down. So we're going to need a little bit of space for our nose. So if you roll up your towel and bolster it up a little bit. And you can have your hands wherever you want them. So actually it might be nice to put them under here. Okay. You're going to start with your feet about hip width distance apart, and you want a neutral position for your pelvis. So remember when we were lying the other way up, we did that pelvic tilt, and you can do that here as well, tucking underneath and arching the back. And I want you to find that midway between the two. And it will be where you're drawing your belly button away from the floor very, very slightly. You've got your tailbone tucked under a little bit. Okay, now what you're going to do is you're going to keep your core muscles working to hold yourself in that position. So your pelvis doesn't move while your leg moves. And we're going to squeeze your right bottom cheek and then lift the right leg away. And then we're going to control it back down again. So we squeeze the left bottom cheek now and lift the left leg away and control it back down. So it's a 3-stage movement. It's a squeeze, then a lift, and then a lower. A squeeze, a lift, and a lower. And we want to make sure that we're not twisting the lower half. All the movement is happening from hip extension rather than any rocking around in the pelvis. So we're keeping everything nice and still while we do these lifts away. So it won't be very high, otherwise you want to start dropping your tummy down. And we want to keep your tummy button away from the floor if we can. So squeeze, lift, and lower. Imagine someone is lightly tugging your ankles away from the rest of your body, so you're really lengthening away as you lift. We'll just do one more. And then we'll relax. Okay, now we're going to come up into 4-point kneeling now. So I want you to start with your knees about hip width distance apart and your knees directly underneath your hips. Your hands are going to be a little bit further forward than your shoulders, so your shoulders can relax. And we're going to find a neutral position for our back. So we want a level back, so as if you could carry a tray of drinks on your back, that's what we're looking for. And I want you to engage your core muscles in that position. So we're lifting the pelvic floor and pulling in those lower abdominals a fraction. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to start by arching the middle of our back up to the ceiling. You're going to look between your knees and you're going to tuck your tailbone between your legs. And then we're going to come back to neutral. Let's try that again. So we tuck under the tailbone, we look between the knees, we arch the middle of your back up towards the sky, and then you control it back down again. So we're going to add in the cat stretch in the other direction now. So we'll do that again. We tuck underneath, arch up, come back down toward neutral, and now we're going to sink beyond neutral and arch the back the other way and look up in front of you. And then again we go back up. We tuck underneath, we arch the back to the ceiling, look between your knees, sink down to neutral, and then go beyond neutral. Now we're going to take a breath in at either end. So take a breath in and exhale to come up, arching up towards the ceiling. Take a breath in to hold it, and exhale to come back down again. So we're going through the full range of lumbar flexion and extension of your pelvic tilt, but in a nice controlled way. Now we don't push into any pain in either direction. So you can push into stiffness, but not into pain. We'll just do one more. And then we come back to neutral. And then we're going to sit back on our heels and relax forward. So we're really just going to sink nice and low with our chest and our hands, and we're going to feel a nice stretch through the lower back. And then I want you to walk your hands around one way, so you get a good stretch through one side of the body, and again sink nice and low to the floor. And then we're going to walk the other way around. And then we'll come back to the centre, walk your hands towards you, and we'll come up into sitting so that we can get ourselves organised for the side lying exercises the other way around. So you're going to pop your headrest at the other end, and we'll come back down, ready for Clams level 1. So we're finding that crook lying position again. So that's, remember, 90 degrees behind the knees. If you were to lift your feet in the air, you'd see that they were roughly level with your bottom and your shoulders if you're in the right position. Our hips are stacked on top of each other. We're pushing away that top line, remember, to try and open up the space between your waist and the floor. So it brings your pelvis into neutral, and that's where we're going to engage those core muscles again. So pelvic floor, lower abdominals in. All right, and then when you're ready, keeping that full contraction, we're going to lift one knee and control it back down again. So we're lifting that knee as high as we can without rocking the body backwards. That's not what we're looking for. We're trying to get movement isolated to the leg. And we're keeping those core muscles to help us from rocking backwards, because it gives you a lot of stability through the rest of the body to stay nice and still. Let's do 2 more like that. So this is level 1 Clams. And now we'll try level 2. So we're going to bring the feet up in the air to start with, and we hover the feet now while we lift and lower the knee. So the feet try and stay nice and still in space, exhaling to lift and inhaling to lower. And we're going to do 2 more. Try and keep it nice and smooth movement all the way through. So if we start to tire, the leg gets a bit juddery, and we're going to try and avoid that if we can. Okay, so then feet back to the floor. Now we're going to leave the lower leg relaxed and bent like it is now, but we're going to straighten out the top one, really pushing away so that we try and open up that space at the waist. Hips are stacked on top of each other. We're going to engage the core muscles there, and then lift that leg away from the floor. So it's at roughly hip height all the way through. And we're going to glide that leg forward, flex the ankle, and then pull it back. So we point and forwards, flex and back. Now remember, the leg is moving, but it's the only thing that's moving. So we don't want to be counterweighting this movement with the upper half. We're trying to keep the upper body nice and still. We're using those core muscles to help us stay nice and still. Relax that top shoulder if you're holding any tension there. Okay, we're going to do 1 more, and we're going to leave that leg further forward. So we take it forward, we flex the ankle, and then we do those 10 quick little pulses, remember, trying to keep the rest of the body nice and still. 3, 2, 1, Glide it back again, and then relax down. Okay, now we're going to do arm openings. So as we did before, you might need to bolster up the pillow a little bit more. Palms together in front of you. Knees stay on the floor this time. We're engaging the core muscles. Take a breath in and exhale to bring that top arm up and over. Eyes follow it as far as it will go, and inhale back. Now we're doing this as far as you can push into without causing yourself pain. So don't push into shoulder pain if you've got any issues there. Exhaling to open, inhaling to close. We'll do one more. Make sure those knees stay on the floor. We're getting a nice twist through the spine as well as movement through the shoulder. Now we turn it into a circle. So we exhale up and over, drop back, and then sweep down past the knees on the way back. And again. So this is working on thoracic mobility, so mobility of your upper back, shoulder mobility, and ribcage mobility. Now we're going to go the other way. So we exhale down, drop back, really lift the ribcage up and over as you come. Okay, last one. Lovely. Okay. All right. So now we're going to roll onto our backs now, and we're going to do a few stretches now to stretch out the muscles we've been using quite a lot. So to stretch out our bottom cheek muscles, we're going to pop right ankle onto left knee, and then we're going to try and bring that left knee towards you. And we're going to bring it in as close as you can comfortably. Now you might not be able to lift it away from the floor, you might have to just bring it in like that, and that's absolutely fine. If you can bring it away, then do. We're just going for a gentle stretch in the bottom cheek on the right hand side. Okay, then we're going to pop left foot to the floor, close the gap between your knees, and take both knees over to the right hand side as you look to the left. So you're basically using your right leg to push the left leg closer to the floor. So we should be getting a stretch somewhere around the left hip. You might feel it up into the back if you're a bit tighter up there, and that's fine. And then we're going to come back to the centre and cross the legs the other way. So now it's left ankle onto right knee and right knee towards you. So this time you should be feeling the stretch somewhere in your left bottom cheek. Then we're going to pop that foot to the floor. We're going to keep the legs crossed and close the gap between your knees, and put both legs over to the left as you look to your right this time. So now you're going for a bit of a stretch somewhere around the right hip. Okay, and then knees back to the centre. We're going to uncross the legs, bring both knees to our chest, and do some little circles with the knees now. Just to loosen out the back and loosen out your hips. And then we're going to do a bit of a deeper lumbar stretch by bringing knees to our chest. So as close as you feel you can, and we're just going to hold that position. And we're going to gently bring feet back to the floor. We're going to bring the feet together, and we're going to drop the knees out to the side nice and wide. And we're just going to let them be heavy to get a stretch on the inner thigh. Now I want you to make sure you're not arching away from the floor dramatically. Maybe tuck your tailbone under a little bit so that you haven't got quite such a big gap behind your back. And then we'll bring knees back together. We're going to roll onto our side and push up. Okay, and come up into sitting. And that's the end of our session. Thanks very much.